Antrum. Is it cursed or is it not? Let's talk about that. So I have never heard about this movie in my entire life, up until a few days ago when a friend told me about it. She told me that it was cursed, and I say cursed between quotation marks and bold. Apparently about 60 people who have seen this film have died. 2 fires randomly started in a theater in Budapest, Hungary, where the film was screening, just like out of nowhere. On top of that, the directors themselves chose to include some sort of warning screen before the movie actually starts, and it does go on for about 30 seconds. Now, the plot of this movie is very weird. It's about this dog that gets put down, and this little kid, Nathan, is sad. So in the car on the way home, Nathan asks his mom if the dog went to heaven or not. And the mom responds as any sane parent would.
Maxine, is she in heaven now?
No, Maxine isn't in heaven. Because she was bad.
Because of this, Nathan is understandably even more traumatized and finds it really difficult to move on. He even starts having really terrible nightmares. So his older sister Orly comes up with this fucking brilliant idea, to say the least, which is to take Nathan to the woods and perform this satanic ritual in order to help him get some kind of closure. Now, Orly claims that this book of spells and tales about demons, creatures, and whatnot that she has would help, as any sane, much older sibling would say. She made this all up and it was all secretly arranged, but Nathan doesn't know that, obviously. They go into the woods, chant some weird, creepy protection spell inside a pentagram.
One by one we pray to thee, protect us from all we'll see, from all we'll hear and touch and smell, from all the unknown dark in hell.
And then they just straight up start digging. One of my favorite parts in this movie is the scene around the start of the film where Orly points to a squirrel and calls it a fucking demon.
It's a demon. Okay, they try to disguise themselves so you don't know that they're demons.
This girl is just so cute, like how could anyone call it a demon? I just wish that they kept this super adorable squirrel on screen more. I mean, just look at its super cute face. Nathan and his sister proceed to search the forest for signs that they had been able to reach their dog, as they were kind of trying to dig their way down to hell to reach the dog in a way, and see if there are any signs of the dog around the forest. At least that was what Orly had told Nathan. Which is probably not very healthy. Don't do that. To me, I felt like the most interesting part in this movie was when Nathan and his sister Orly were kidnapped by these 2 really weird cannibal men. Earlier on in the movie, they had run away from these men when they saw them, but now the men were able to get a hold of them and they tried to cook them in this really big demon-looking pot. And it just felt really scary to think about. Another scene that I found kind of unsettling was when Nathan was sitting by himself in the middle of the forest, just crying by himself. The scene lasted for about a minute and it was just really sad, and it made me feel uneasy, especially because of his given situation. In case you're still sitting there and wondering to yourself whether this movie is actually cursed or not, let me answer that for you. No. It's obviously just a marketing strategy and not really a bad one. I honestly kind of liked this movie. I didn't think it was bad, and I really liked the 70s vintage theme it kind of had, even though it was obviously not made in the 70s. It's also worth mentioning that the movie had 0 jump scares, not even one, and I thought that was really kind of unique, because a lot of the newer horror movies I've seen today completely rely on jump scares, and I just find that really off-putting. There was also this message they included at the very end, telling you that you had just watched the movie in its entirety, just something that should be implemented in all movies. It's definitely not absolutely unnecessary. Although Antrum didn't really scare me or kill me, I still really enjoyed watching it, and I would recommend it, honestly. But don't just take my word for it. Let's see what other people have to say. And now I'd like to introduce you to a new segment called Google Reviews. That's it. That's the best I could come up with. Just want to say there is no way this movie's from the 70s. If you look up the cast, they are the same age from the movie to this date. I even tried looking up the fire in the movie theater they were talking about, and it's non-existent. This whole backstory they made is just for marketing, and honestly the movie was just weird. Boom, gave it a 2 stars. If I watch this, will I die? Because I kind of want to die. Like, I've seen TikToks about it, and people here say you die and bad things happen, and other people say it wasn't scary. So I had absolutely no idea that TikTok was a reliable news source up until today. I had sleeping paralysis later that same night. It was a good movie, but I don't recommend teenagers to watch this. So it's absolutely okay for kids to watch this movie, but not teenagers. Okay, everyone, please take notes and force your younger siblings to watch this movie. Against their will, of course. My sister got scared. She a puss. Face with steam from nose. I only rate this movie a 1 star because I was really scared. I think that's kind of the point of horror films. Chose to watch this movie because of all the hype and was overall disappointed. I didn't die and was not scared. Chose to include this review because it was slightly relatable. Aside from the mean reviews left by skeptical Reddit and TikTok users, there were also dozens of real stories. The ending has a death warning and my husband died from a heart attack. My brother died while watching the movie. Don't watch this movie. 5. I got this movie ruined my life. I'm very disappointed. My husband was run over by a truck and my truck killed herself. My son is struggling from severe depression. This all happened only 2 hours after we finished watching the movie on our 100-inch flat screen television screen. My house burned to ashes, but it's anyone. I have no hope left in me because people are using TikTok as a search engine or something. Anyways, I will be expecting the sequel for this movie.